Hello everyone. Welcome back to this channel. This time, we're going to discuss some leaks I've come across, which seem very exciting. Alright, let's not waste any time and get right into it. So, this time, I have found very interesting information. And this information will be related to the kit or mechanics of a boss that will appear in the Edo Star patch later. I got the information about this boss from a source named Castorice. I myself don't know what the track record of this source is, whether it's credible or not. So, as usual, don't immediately believe this information. And since what Castorice shared looks interesting, let's talk about what's in it. Okay, in their post, Castorice wrote, "Yesterday, I talked to someone from Hoyo. Hoyo might use this mechanic for the Edo Star Planet boss. This is still an early concept, and I used AI to make the description. From here, we can conclude that what Castorice shared might come from an insider at Hoyo. Though whether that's true or just a one-sided claim from Castorice, we don't know. But the information they shared is still in the early concept stage, so it's very likely that the kit will change during beta testing later. There are 3 abilities of this boss that Castorice shared. And since the boss's name is still censored, let's just call it the boss. Let's start with the first ability. The boss will manifest a ruinous resonance gauge, maximum 20. The gauge increases each time the boss takes damage. Multiple hit attacks or multiple hits in one turn will accelerate its growth. From the first ability, we can see that this boss's mechanic will disadvantage characters with multiple hits. This means that characters like Castorice, Phanon, or other multiple hit DPS units will be at a disadvantage when fighting this boss. On the other hand, characters with large single hit damage, like Seal or Archer, will benefit more because they won't accelerate the gauge's growth significantly. Although Archer's ultimate is multiple hit, her main source of damage comes from her skill, so it probably won't have much effect. Well, now I'm wondering, are there any non-hunt DPS characters that have single hit damage? Even so, it's important to note that not all multiple hit attacks are AoE or bouncing damage. Even a character like Fei Xiao, who is a single target hunt DPS, still has a skill and ultimate that count as multiple hit. Therefore, not all hunt characters are automatically safe from this gauge's effect. However, this might not necessarily disadvantage multiple hit DPS since we haven't seen the gauge's effect yet. So, let's move on to the second ability to find out what the gauge actually does. Second ability, when the gauge reaches 5 stacks, the boss activates Mocking Pulse, dealing AoE imaginary DMG to all allies and applying a debuff called Mute of Mercy. This debuff prevents all forms of healing for 5 turns. The debuff cannot be removed. Afterward, the gauge resets to 0. Yeah, this effect is crazy and can completely change the battle's dynamics. With the Mute of Mercy debuff, all healing effects will not work at all for a full 5 turns. In other words, this boss will make your team's healer completely useless. And what's even more annoying is that this debuff cannot be removed and lasts for 5 turns, which is a very long time. We are basically forced to use shielders or play without sustain. Teams that rely too much on healing sustain will have a very hard time surviving. And one of the teams most affected, of course, is the full Remembrance Castorice team. Yes, Castorice relies heavily on healers, and with this debuff mechanic, that team will not be able to fight it effectively. So, this boss will serve as a natural counter to the Remembrance team, which is currently one of the strongest teams in Patch 3. Although, this might not be too big of an issue since you can simply place the Castorice team on a different node from this boss. Okay, next is the third ability of this boss. At gauge levels 5, 10, 15, and 20 stacks, the boss's damage increases and the damage it takes is reduced by 25%, 50%, 75%, and 100%, respectively. When it reaches 20 stacks, the boss enters the absolute apostasy phase, becoming immune to all forms of damage, and unleashes massive AoE true DMG that scales based on the total number of units on the battlefield. including summons and memo sprites. Well, it seems like we're getting another emanator preservation after the traffic robot. Yeah, this further reinforces the reason why you shouldn't use multiple hit characters against this boss. Because each time the gauge increases, the boss becomes stronger and more resistant to attacks, eventually reaching an absolute point where it's completely immune to damage, the absolute apostasy phase. Yes, this is the moment when the boss ascends into an emanator preservation. Then, the AoE true damage scaling of this boss depends on your team's size. That means, the more characters you have on the field, the higher the damage the boss will deal. In other words, once again, compositions like full remembrance teams will be the most disadvantaged. The damage received by a full remembrance team with 8 characters will be double compared to a regular team composition. I don't know for sure whether these 3 abilities are the boss's full kit or if there are more abilities we haven't seen yet. But I personally think this isn't the full kit, since it's still an early concept, and 3 abilities would be too few if they were the full kit. Also, the information from Castorice aligns with a leak I covered in a video about a month ago. The previous information I got came from an anonymous source. And according to that source, the enemy in question is called Ronin, an enemy with either a common or elite boss status. So, Ronin has an ability that inflicts an HP recovery block debuff on all team members while in the charging phase. Yeah, if we compare it with the information from Castorice, the core of the kit is very similar. So, it's possible that Ronin is the same boss being discussed by Castorice, only Castorice's information is more complete and detailed. If this information is true, then this boss clearly serves as a strong indication that Hoyoverse plans to make a major meta shift in version 4.0. Right now, the Honkai starrail meta is still dominated by Remembrance Castorice teams. However, with the appearance of this boss mechanic, that team will lose its dominance. Even the new boss appearing in 3.8 was also designed to be unsuitable for Remembrance Castorice teams, because that boss makes all characters except the chosen one unable to deal crit hits, which is very disadvantageous for Castorice teams since every character contributes to damage, not just one main DPS. On the other hand, this further strengthens the possibility that patch 4 will focus on hunt and elation. This makes sense when looking at this boss's mechanic that benefits single-hit DPS characters, as well as the kits of Hanami or Sparkle SP, which can also upgrade hunt skills into blast types. Well, if you don't know or missed the Sparkle SP kit, you can check it out in the video I uploaded a few days ago. Alright, that's all for now, everyone. So what are your thoughts on this leak? Write your opinions in the comments section, and don't forget to share this information with your friends who also play Honkai starrail. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on other important updates. See you in the next update.